Hello, and welcome to a brand new podcast. My name is J. Claude Deering. I'm an actor and a comedian. You made it this far. I hope you're settling in, relaxing, because I want you to enjoy yourselves while you're here. Have a good time. Feel free to get out some angst from time to time by yelling at me when I ask someone a question you think is dumb. Look, I'm here for you. On each episode, you'll hear from major movie stars, huge TV stars, and even some bright, shining Broadway stars, as well as second guest interviews with exciting up-and-coming comics and actors and established producers, authors, and writers. At its heart, this show is a love letter to creative people, the artsy-fartsy types. Look, we know a lot of podcasts ask you to rate and subscribe, but we really actually mean it because we are very brand new. And right now we're doing this as a limited season until you demand more. So if you like any of what you hear today, do us a kindness, subscribe to the show. Give us those 5 stars wherever you're getting your podcasts from today. Hey, Apple Podcast peeps. We see you, Spotify folks. Hey now, Google Podcast fam. Hey, Stitcher people. What's up, you freaky Pocket Casts cats? We love you all equally, and we hope you love what you hear, and we want to keep bringing you new episodes of this show. You can also follow me, your host, at J. Claude Deering on both Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow our show handles on Twitter and Instagram at Things Are Going Great For Me. There you'll find our link tree that has links for our email list and Patreon. On our Patreon, you'll find bonus RSS feed interview coverage from some of our guests, including further insights about the future of the entertainment business, plus exclusive photos and videos, some truly funny moments that happened with our guests during technical difficulties, and more. Much more. So much more. Oh, and by the way, we're very lucky to be sponsored for this limited series by Icelandic Glacial, the purest tasting water on Earth, sourced from the legendary Ulfus Spring in Iceland, naturally filtered through ancient lava rock, making it naturally alkaline with the perfect balance of dissolved minerals for taste, and certified carbon neutral for both product and operation. You are what you drink. Be a force of nature. Icelandic Glacial bottled water. Natural spring water sourced from Iceland. Available on Amazon, IcelandicGlacial.com, and a retailer near you. Today's guest is Chris Pine, star of Wonder Woman 1984, Star Trek, A Wrinkle in Time, Into the Woods, Horrible Bosses 2, Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit, Unstoppable. He's one of the biggest movie stars in the world. I tried to get some moments from the man that might be new and exciting to learn, so welcome to all the Pine Nuts tuning in. I'll be speaking with him in a few minutes. And a little bit later, you'll also get my conversation with Geo Parsons, the writer of the upcoming film Willy's Wonderland, starring Sir Nicolas Cage. The film has been described as Nicolas Cage versus Chuck E. Cheese. And the most Nick Cage movie to ever Nick Cage a Nick Cage. The script made the prestigious Bloodlist in 2017 and has trended #1 on Reddit 3 times in the last year. It's an inspirational 15-year overnight success story of how a longtime playwright and actor and first-time screenwriter managed to get a script into the hands of one of the most bankable movie stars on Earth. So stick around for that interview. You're not going to want to miss it. And by the way, hello to all the Willy's Wonderland fans. I know you're passionate. I hope I did you right in that interview. Now, along with me on this journey is my producer and my co-host, Winston Carter, a podcaster in his own right. How you doing, man? How you doing with all this being inside?
I'm good. I'm well, relatively good. First time I've ever been described as podcaster in his own right. It's a new title for me.
Is that too formal?
No, it's not formal enough, really.
All right, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm good. No, I mean, compared to, we're all doing fine, right?
We're
all
great.
doing fine.
Yeah.
And we're all doing our best.
That's right. So, well, thank you for joining me, buddy. So where can people find you online?
Online? So I'm on, I have a podcast called Try You Like It. That's on Instagram and Twitter. I'm on Instagram and Twitter as Winstonius. So at Winston, IOUS, is where you can find me online.
Okay, great. And so, yeah, you talked about your other podcast. Is this your second podcast?
This is actually my third. I had a podcast when I was 22.
I thought you were going to say you had a podcast when you were 12. And then I had to think.
I had a podcast when I was 12. 97. It was wild.
It was all about the movie Space Jam.
Yeah, it was about the movie Space. It was called Jam and Jam. And it was all just us riffing, just really giving it to Michael Jordan.
About basketball, Michael Jordan, and spreaded fruit that you can spread on bread.
Yeah, talk about basketball, lessons about life was the tagline for the show. And yeah, it was great. No, I did have a podcast briefly. that I wish now I had kept with, because like I had one with my brother where we talked about nerd stuff.
Oh, cool.
I mean, really, now that I think about it, so far before the podcast really hit, that we maybe had the opportunity to be like, because we were also talking about nerdy things. Like we could have been one of those, like, there's early adopters of all media that you're like, that is not good, but they were here first.
Oh, yeah. Well, I
So
love
we could
that
have been
stuff. That
that.
kind of like, it has that garage band kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, there's like, well, I always just view it as like, I'm like, if you're the first person there, you don't necessarily have to be the best.
You sure don't.
And you can still make plenty of money by just happening to be around at the beginning.
Well, and also I feel like with those early, when people were putting videos up on, like as QuickTime files on the internet, I mean, the quality of those early sketch videos people were putting up was terrible. You go back and watch that stuff now, it's like 480p.
Yeah, and those people are all millionaires now. that's the because it's all about the bucks with me. That's what you'll learn. I'm the producer. I'm all about the money.
Listen, man, I'm glad to hear that. Let's try to make a little money. Would be nice to keep us going at least. So I know you're on a brief hiatus with Try You Like It, but it's such a great show, and you were gracious to have me on that show. You want to tell people the hook of that show, because it's a really fun idea.
Yeah, so that show is we bring on a guest, usually a LA chef or comedian. It's someone usually in the food world or in the comedy world. With me and my co-host David Zwick, and then we interview them about food. We in advance ask them what food they hate, like their least favorite food, and then we prepare. The second half of the show is that we prepare a menu of all different versions of that food, trying to get them to try it one last time.
So this podcast was planned since before this year.
Mm-hmm.
But it did take on added meaning because of a global pandemic.
Yep.
We decided to bank all the episodes and then release them. So this series is also a time capsule.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was a smart idea?
I mean, I view this as like, I've taken very much the attitude throughout all of this that, for me, I've been working really hard on creative things. I've been doing this, and I write, and I've been doing music stuff. That's what's getting me through it. But also, I don't discredit anyone who's like, I can't do anything. So anyone's approach to how they're going to get through this very difficult and weird time that none of us have experience with, any way is right. As long as it doesn't hurt anyone else, is kind of my theory.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at things. Yeah.
So I think it's good that we're doing this now, and I think it's interesting that we are capturing. It's you've taken a show called Things Are Going Great for Me, and then like now it's in a time where things are not going great for anyone really.
No, exactly. Yeah, we talked a little bit about the title and whether we should change it. It's the title always worked as an idea that would cut both ways. It could either be earnest or ironic.
Yeah.
The for me right now part feels a little like out of place, but hopefully in the future it will make more sense. But if it were just called Things Are Going Great, I feel like that would have hit in this moment, I think, a little bit harder.
Yeah, but it's fine.
Yeah,
it's great.
Supposed to be. I mean, it was originally supposed to be about creative people, but there are some very worthy conversations that we got here with folks talking a little bit about how that exists during this particular time.
Yeah, and it's also, I think we're inclined, like, I feel myself even inclined to be like, well, no one wants to hear what the hell actors have to say right now, But also, it's valid. It's all valid. There's no wrong way.
And the business is taking on quite a bunch of hits. I mean, I don't know if I don't know how many people are still going to be represented after all of this is done. I mean, there was a big story that CAA fired 90 agents. And furloughed 250 assistants. So I don't know really what the business is, but one thing we know for sure is during this time, people have been Netflixing and HBO Maxing to the max during this time. So I think and at the same time, there's a sort of a middle class in the entertainment business and a lower class in the entertainment business, which is the vast majority of performers who are out of work. The arts is suffering. Broadway has completely shut down.
Yeah.
So, in terms of order of importance, I think, certainly acting in this profession is not at the top. But
No, but
I think people do turn to entertainers during times like this to help them get through these kinds of times.
No, yeah, I think it's incredibly important to. I mean, we don't as a like. People always say like, well, oh, like actors get paid too much. Well, that's really just the top tier, right? That's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yes, yes. Brad Pitt makes $20 million a movie or whatever,
More, probably,
but
yeah.
the vast majority don't make that much. The vast majority, it's a hobby that you work a bunch of jobs you don't want to do
Yeah.
to provide that you can keep doing. It's like a passion in that way.
Do you remember that, so Pine's interview was the first one we did back in
Yep.
April. And I think it's
Yeah.
important to mention that again because a lot has happened since then.
Yes.
Do you remember when we sat down when you were helping me test out the mics and we talked about Chris and the possibility of trying to get him on the show? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember it was.
Do you remember when that
What were you-
was?
When that was? I mean, it was like late March.
Is that when that was? Oh my God! It feels like
Yeah.
it feels like it was even before
Yeah.
before that, but it was before everything shut down.
Yes. It was, I think we were probably talking about it. I'm trying to think because I started working from home, I think the second week of March. And then it was probably like a week or two after that.
Yeah. Oh my God! That was it, huh? Just a week or two later.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. What did we think were the chances at that point that we would get him to come on and do this interview?
Oh, I remember that. I mean, we had talked about it as like, well, that's if we get him. Well, then it's all worth it if we just get this one interview.
Yeah, we were.
Like,
I had it. I don't think I did my second interview for 3 weeks later. I just had Chris's, and I think I thought like, well, if I just did this, like, maybe let's just release this, like, because there was so much going on, and the depression was sinking in about what was going on. And I guess I've had those moments once or twice at least throughout all of this as I kept plowing through the interviews. And the thing that I think was sustaining, though, about doing these individual interviews was those moments of getting to touch base with people and check in with people in a way and have some, sort of longer, meaningful conversations that I otherwise didn't have even before this pandemic.
It is like, at the very least, it's like worth that just to like, oh, I need an excuse to talk to my friends, so here it is.
Yeah, and I don't think the folks on here, I haven't talked to. Some of these folks I know because we've worked together, and some of them I know for a long time. But I don't think I've talked to any. I don't think I've talked to maybe half of these folks for this extended period of time, because I think either you're seeing them at a comedy club, or you're in rehearsals with them for a play, or you're on set with them. And, even when you're on set with people, there is a lot of sitting around. Sometimes I think you do have sort of deep, meaningful conversations. Sometimes you're just kind of on your phone a bit too much. I've talked with some folks on here about that too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've done plenty of talking up front.
Cool.
Folks, you have been very patient as we went through some housekeeping stuff. Without further ado, here now is the very erudite and charming Christopher Whitelaw Pine. So have you ever done a podcast before? I mean, I know that you've done some Hollywood Reporter stuff, but is this your first sort of like your buddies podcast?
Yes.
All right.
Is.
So this is a world exclusive.
Yes, it is indeed.
Fuck yeah. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Sure.
It's sweet of you, and I think it speaks to your character, man, that you would help a buddy out. I'm very appreciative.
Of course, man. Of course.
So one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast is to interview people who are just killing the game. And then juxtapose those with interviews with some folks who are out there just still kind of hustling, but things are going great for them because they booked a guest star on TV that week.
Oh yeah.
I want an audience to get, I think, that much needed perspective. And I wondered if perhaps the wins feel just as high and the lows feel just as low for a movie star and a day player. What do you think about that?
It's a really good question.
Do you feel like there's a limit to how much you can celebrate yourself when things go great?
That's a very very astute question. Yeah, it's in some ways kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know, it's
Oh my God. I
um
have no idea what that was. You just pulled
oh
a Berkeley reference,
well,
an
it's
Ivy League school reference out
no,
of nowhere.
it's simply put, it's just that um if you have your basic needs met, um, house, home, hearth, food, that you can then spend your time thinking and doing other things, meaning that the yes or no to a question doesn't have um, doesn't have isn't an existential question. It's a question of, do I want to do it? Does it fulfill me?
Yeah,
What is my purpose? What am I doing here? All of these very flighty and not flighty, but intellectual pursuits that are valid on their own, but certainly don't have the primality or whatever of certainly of how I was raised. And I was raised by parents that were day players that went through the ups and downs
that's right.
of auditions and interviews and lean times and
Right.
full times. And so I am very hyper genetically and by nurture aware of those wins, and when they blow and when it's good, it's bounty, and when it's not, it's incredibly debilitating. So when you get those wins, there is a euphoria that is really because it's about your existence. It's about whether or not you can afford the rent or the food on the table to send your kid to school and all that. There's great euphoria, and
Yeah, I think
I
that's
think
right.
as it goes on, it's just a different experience. And um, um, it's a good question, Claude. I mean, I certainly think that it just sends your brain into different avenues of investigation, and things don't become as black and white anymore. I mean, I remember when I got my first, I'd taken out, I was 20, two, and I'd taken out, I'd thought I had like $500 in the bank account. I didn't. I had to take out money for rent, and I was like $700 overdrawn. And I got my first gig, which was for like $2,500 on a I don't know if it was what the fuck was it? Anyway, but that $2,500 was it's a game changer. That
Right.
was the next 2 months of my life taken care of and secure. And so yeah, things are definitely different, but no less. The game is always interesting. That's for sure.
Do you still get disappointed with stuff regarding your career? I mean, I remember hearing a story about Sean Penn was frustrated at some point he couldn't get a movie greenlit that he wanted to direct. Is nobody happy in Hollywood?
I mean, if you're of a certain bent, there's always reasons to drive yourself into misery. You can always reflect yourself off of someone else's. You know, there's always ways to compare yourself to other people. That's for sure. And I'm human, and certainly have done it myself. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's.
Who would you? I think I've got to ask for the audience. Who would you compare yourself to? Can you answer that question? Do you think? Do you
No, I
have to
mean,
look
I
back at
don't.
some of the greats from before your time, or folks who are
No,
maybe of
I
the
you
older
know
generation?
I have been asked that question before, and the way that I always answered is, I guess I would hope to be my own man and my own
Yeah.
actor and have my own career. There's certainly people for whom I have incredible respect, but no one's career uh, matches, I guess, precisely my ambitions or my motivations. And quite honestly, a lot of my ambitions are still up in the air. I don't. I've been pretty able, given an incredible amount of neuroticism, to kind of play it granularly and take it moment to moment, project to project, and when it feels right, I pull the trigger, and when it doesn't, I don't.
You know, uh, speaking of comparing yourself to people on a lighter note, do you think it's possible at this point for my career to catch up with yours?
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. I mean, that's the greatest.
Don't
That's
lie
the
to
great.
me. Don't you lie to me.
I'm not lying to you. I mean,
I got a
that's
couple
the
recurring roles. You don't have to be polite. I'm 38 years old,
no.
man. Give it to me straight.
There's I mean, that is the name of the game in a business of art, is that things can take dramatic turns for the better or for the worse
That's what it would have to be. It would have to be
all
a
the time.
dramatic turn, yeah.
But I mean, I remember listening to Adele on KCRW, and one morning, and she was in studio, and and I felt like within a month she was a massive music star, and the rest is history. So I think that things can, the rocket ship is still there for you to jump on, Claude.
Hey man, I'm suited up. I'm suited and booted.
There you go, dude.
So listen, so I wanted to ask you, so you're not on any social media, is that correct?
I am on none. In fact, I'm borrowing my girlfriend's iPhone.
You said that. You said you have a flip phone.
I do indeed.
Oh my God. Do you? So you don't have a Pierre Delecto account hanging out there just so you can jump into Twitter and check out the scuttlebutt from time to time? Do you know about the Pierre Delecto?
Pierre Delecto and scuttlebutt in one sentence. Sounds.
I'm just trying to match your verbosity, buddy.
Super interesting, but what the fuck is that?
Pierre Delecto, you haven't heard, is that's the Mitt Romney had this.
Oh yeah. I did hear that.
So that he could.
I did hear that.
Go on it. I don't know if he was trolling people on
no,
there. I don't know what it was.
What I heard is that he would go on and if this is right, he would go on and read the comments about him, and then he would anonymously respond to people.
Oh God, that's so sad.
I think so.
I mean,
I think so.
He's had some sort of more, I would say, important. He's had some good moments as of late, but that is pretty.
He has indeed.
Sad.
That was a pretty brave thing he pulled.
Yeah, I agree. So there's a franchise that you're a part of that has a very rabid fan base out there, and of course, I'm talking about Stephen Sondheim fans. What is it like?
Very true, though.
What's it like being part of the Stephen Sondheim universe?
Yeah, it was. That one came out of the blue. I really had no idea what Into the Woods was. The only musical I knew, Phantom of the Opera, because my mom always played that in the house growing up, and then Guys and Dolls, because I'm a Sinatra and a Brando fan, obviously. So those were that was my education, full stop. So I really had no idea what I was getting into, and then you take it on, you're having a good time, you're taking the vocal classes somewhere, in North Hollywood, and then you end up at Abbey Road Studios with Sondheim, picking apart your C flat.
So he's quite an intellectual dude. So what was it like just in your, did you gain a bit more of an appreciation for the construction of a song while working with him? I mean, I'm sure you did, but I'm just curious what your insights were.
Yeah, my run-in with Stephen was very brief while we were recording the songs. It's obviously a huge cast and a pretty stacked cast at that. I think Stephen was probably much more interested in confabbing with Meryl than he was with me and Billy. But he was a lovely guy. I remember, obviously, as one can imagine, hyper specific, just threading a fine needle. That's one of those things that I think my brain was so worried about doing it right and doing it well that I didn't even have time to think about the complexities of what went into it. I will say it delighted me to no end doing that part and singing those songs. So, just like any good music, like a sonnet or Shakespeare, the musicality of it, the inherent musicality of the words and the music and that structure, kind of lifts you. It immediately you go on that train, you go on that ride, and I've had an absolute blast. I can't wait I hope I get a shot at doing something like that again.
You did great. I thought you were great in it.
Thanks, man.
All right, I'm gonna move on now that every Star Trek fan is upset with me. I'm gonna move on, and I'm gonna say, so are you working with Tarantino on the next Star Trek? What is the latest?
I haven't heard anything. I mean, I get these questions all the time. I'm like the last person to find anything out. So I've heard. What have I heard? Tarantino was going to do one, and then who's it? Noah Hawley was going to do something else, and then that fell through. And then he was going to do something with the Discovery, the new Alex Kurtzman, led cast. So I really don't know. I know that Paramount is kind of coming out of having restructured a bit and kind of a major corporate restructuring. So hopefully when all that dust settles, something concrete will come out of it and we'll get to work. I'd love to do it.
Have you ever met the man?
Who?
Tarantino.
I have, man. Yeah, I gotta say he is a very cool dude. I've been to the Academy Awards a couple times, and I always take my mom, and we have a great old time and laugh a bunch. And she holds all the power bars I need to get through 4 hours of no food. But anyway, we ended up at this great party, the Vanity Fair party that they always have at the Sunset Tower, which is one of my favorite spots just because it feels so old school and so old Hollywood.
It is. It's very elegant.
It has a romance to it that, I think, unfortunately, we've kind of lost. Anyway, my grandmother was an actress in the 30s and 40s, and she obviously has a bunch of posters of these films my grandmother was in, and was looking to get them reframed and was asking about the best spot to do it. So I introduced my mom to Quentin. Quentin knows everything about my grandmother.
Oh my gosh.
He knows film names, co-stars, directors, production designers.
Holy hell.
I mean, it's just unbelievable. So they end up talking for about 40 minutes. And I went off and, got another martini. And then lo and behold, Once Upon a Time comes out, and I see it. I love it. I call my folks and ask them if they'd seen it, and they saw it, loved it. And my mom says, that scene at the ranch when there's a TV on. I said, yeah, I vaguely kind of remember this, but she said on the television is one of my mom's saying this, one of my mother's films.
No way.
Yeah. So I have yet to get in touch with him. My mother actually wrote me an email that I was going to try to forward to him. But it's obviously, it's so sweet of him. I'm assuming that was done on purpose and kind of a nod. And
it sounds like he was smitten with your mother, and I have since heard that he's a fan. I mean, I've heard him say that he's a fan of yours, and I think that a lot of people would love to see the two of you collaborate.
Well, I mean, I'd love to do it. I don't know if he's retiring or what, but just the fact that he did that, just my mother was ecstatic.
Yeah,
just ecstatic, over the moon.
So I heard from one of our mutual friends, that when you were first reading the script for the first Trek film that you did, that you were looking at Captain Kirk and going like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how am I supposed to do this iconic role? Do you remember what that felt like all these years later?
Yeah, I mean, I assume you're talking about Greenberg, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of our friends.
Yeah,
let's plug Greenberg real quick. What's he doing?
Will Greenberg.
He just finished a new show.
The Thrill Greenberg.
Perfect Harmony, I think. Check out Perfect Harmony with Will.
Check out check out anything with my main man,
That's
Sleazy
right.
Greenberg. Um, I'd been doing a play at the Geffen called Fat Pig, and I um, auditioned for it, and was so kind of busy doing the play, I really didn't think twice about it. I didn't do well in the audition, didn't think anything about it. I went off and did a film that I absolutely had the worst time on, came back. And then my agent was like, "Their audition for Star Trek's back," and I really was in a place of like wanting to move to New York and just disappointed in the film world, and I don't know, do theater or something, and they convinced me to go in for this audition, and I went in for the audition with, I think, with the same sides, and one of the sides was I want to say when I first meet Uhura and I'm flirting with her, which that's a lot of fun just because it's comedy. But then the other one was really hard. It's a bunch of gobbledygook on the bridge, photons and phasers and all that kind of stuff. And it's difficult to do when you're sitting in a plastic chair, in a conference room.
Sure.
So,
Oh yeah.
but JJ in the room was so fucking incredible, and he's just so animated and so alive and so enthusiastic, and he's a lover of acting. He's a lover of cinema, and that flipped the whole vibe in the room. And I felt like I could do anything, and I really credit his openness in the room for kind of opening me up and letting me do my thing, and that was that.
Great. Can you say at this point if Wonder Woman is going to be released digitally? Have you heard anything about the plans for that Wonder Woman 1984?
I have not. I mean, I got sent a couple emails that were just forwards from like Variety or whatever, wherever things were popping up about it. But I have not heard anything, but I can't fathom that they're going to do it digitally. I just can't. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a film, cinema release.
Have you made a conscious decision to not play a superhero? At least not a live action one. I mean, you've played a lot of heroes.
No, I haven't. I just haven't. I really haven't gotten. I want to make sure I'm correct about this before. Yeah, I don't think I've been offered one. I don't think I've been offered one. No, I haven't.
But you're in this great superhero series with Gal Gadot, and you're supporting her. Your job there is to support. Really, would you say that?
Yeah, I mean 100%. She is the star, and she's the one with the superpowers, and I'm woefully human and fallible and much weaker.
Yeah.
And no, I had I have a great time with that cast. I have a great time with Patty. The character has vibes of, it tickles my Indiana Jones bone, and I love the character. Yeah, I had a great time doing it, and the less time I need to spend in any sort of rubber suits, the better.
I mean, it does sound like a drag. I don't know that I'd want to be. It doesn't sound like a drag. I should not say that. I'm in no position to say like it sounds like a drag. I'm so sorry, President of Hollywood, if you're listening. But it does sound like it's tough. I mean, I was just watching a documentary on the making of the old Star Wars films, and like the poor dude playing 3PO when they're shooting in like Tunisia or Morocco. Or whatever,
Right.
and, like the suits going into his shins and everything. Like it just they're burning up in there. It just sounds like tough work.
Yeah.
So is it true that you passed on that Jeremy Renner role in The Town in favor of doing Unstoppable with Denzel?
That is true, actually.
And that turned out to be perhaps a fortuitous choice.
I don't know, man. I mean, I saw Renner in it, and he just absolutely slaughtered that role. I mean, thank God that's how it worked out, because God, he was good in that. Much better than I would have been, I think. it's a killer part. I really wanted to work with Ben, and really, like, I think if just on the page the town really spoke to me, but in terms of working with Tony and Denzel, and working with Denzel for the majority of my time on the film, there was just no possibility I could turn it down rather, and it was one of the best experiences of my career, and I got a chance to get become close with Tony, and who was just a mega star in my book from ever since I was a kid, and learn from one of the best actors of the past in film history. So
absolutely.
I think I scored.
What was the first thing you saw Denzel in when you were growing up? Do you remember?
Whoa. Really good question. Maybe, God, I don't know. Maybe Philadelphia, or maybe he had a hell of a run there. I mean, he did Glory, Philadelphia.
Right.
He did a Grisham. He did
Pelican Brief. Yeah.
There you go. Pelican Brief.
Glory
exactly.
was the first thing I saw him in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what a fucking run.
Yep. I remember bumping into you at the ArcLight movie theater once, and we were walking out and chatting. All of a sudden, we were running, and I said, "Why are we running?" And you said, "There's a paparazzo following us." And sure enough, there's a little dude following quickly behind us. There's no question here, really. I just want to tell you that as a buddy, I found that to be a sad moment, and I'm sorry that that's part of the gig.
Yeah. I will say for the first year or so, it was a really just the most difficult thing to get used to. I'm a pretty I'm like my anonymity as anybody else does. And I was living in this small apartment on Silver Lake Boulevard, and when the movie came out, Star Trek, and that's when things, anonymity started to kind of crumble. You'd have like 6 or 7 guys stationed outside of your window with long lenses and people poking around your trash and all that kind of shit, and getting fast car races across Silver Lake and whatnot. But actually, it's really mellowed out now. Is just I'm barely. Although my girlfriend and I did get popped going to Gelson's shopping.
Do you know, I actually did see that because I was trying to do a little bit of my research the other day, and I wondered if that was a recent photo, and sure enough, in the midst of everything going on, I saw that they grabbed a photo of the both of you. Yeah,
I guess what I'll say is that especially when it's out of your purview or you're just not even thinking about it, and you turn a corner and someone's pointing something at you, I would imagine it's the same reaction as if someone were pointing a gun. It's like someone is focusing a spherical object in your direction, so immediately your fight or flight just gets pumped like crazy. So it's the chemical reaction more than anything else.
I would be terrible about it. If I was ever in that position, I think I would there'd be a lot of bad tape of me just losing my cool. More like Fraser Crane, not like I'm a badass or anything.
Nice.
Just being like, what's going on here?
Good line reading.
Yeah, thank you. So back to that night at the ArcLight, one of the things that I thought was particularly cool was that you managed a very quick and a courteous goodbye to me, and then you darted into a secret door, and I was like stunned. So here's my question. Do you have staked out secret passages out of most places in LA, or is that someone's job on your team?
No, that's just part of the secret celebrity network of maps and locations for safe drops and quick exits.
Right, led by Matt Damon.
Matt Damon and the Masons and the Illuminati, but that's goes into other stuff.
Brando had said everyone's acting all the time. Do you agree with that?
Yes, for the most part.
Do you think that means being an actor in real life is inherently meta-theatrical? Do you ever catch yourself performing the role of yourself?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sure.
Is it hard? Or is it something you slip into easily?
No, by which I mean by which I mean I by which I mean I can tell when I'm putting on a face, so to speak, in a certain moment to achieve something or to be seen a certain way. That's anything from going into a social situation where perhaps I'm not all that comfortable, but I put on the happy face and smile and shake hands and play the part of of being super comfortable when I'm not. Could be,
Yeah.
could be, I mean, it could be any. There these, and I think if everyone were really tuned into it, they'd find a lot of it in their lives. So, yeah, I think having an aware, a really good attunement to those different masks and when they go on and what they are and what they're about, what they look like, to know that they're weapons in your arsenal, to know when they're useful and when they're not, when they're kind of obfuscating the full perception of your authentic self. Those
Right.
are good things to have, I think. Yeah.
When are you going to do a movie with Bill Hader where you both play brothers?
I've never. That's definitely the first time I've had that question, J. Claude.
There's some murmurs online that the two of you would be great together in something.
Well, I have to say I haven't. I've yet to check out his show, which all of my friends absolutely love.
Yeah, it's great. Barry.
Yeah, I'm dying to check it out. I feel like maybe I met Bill. Anyway, I'll get back to you on that. I want to check out the TV show.
All right, so listen, I'm going to put money in the bank for you. Okay, ready?
Sure.
Okay. It's a Bill Hader, Chris Pine action comedy about a mild-mannered crisis counselor, that's Hader, who's pressured into breaking his Fire Festival Billy McFarland type VC fraud brother, you, out of jail.
I love it.
Right?
I actually really, really love it. Yeah. Have you seen those documentaries?
Yeah, they're frightening.
I mean, whoa, dude. Whoa.
Well, listen, it's been outstanding. Thanks so much for your time. Always excited to see your latest project.
Thanks, man.
Thanks again for doing it.
All right, take it easy.
Well, there you have it. My interview with Chris Pine back in April of this year. A good man for doing it. I think we covered a lot of ground. I hope you enjoyed it. Before we move on to our second interview today, and again, since this is our first episode, I'm going to take another opportunity to ask you all to please subscribe to this podcast wherever you're getting this podcast from today. We've got more incredible interviews with folks like Melissa Fumero, Baron Vaughn, Chantal Tui, Ryder Doyle, and Sarah Paxton coming in the next few weeks. If you like what you hear so far, please give us those 5-star ratings, leave us a nice comment, and we'll keep bringing you these great episodes. Next up is Geo Parsons, writer of Willy's Wonderland. The movie follows a drifter played by Nicolas Cage who takes a job as a janitor at a family entertainment center. Unknowingly, he's walking into a trap where he's meant to be sacrificed to the venue's demonic animatronic mascots. Yes, you heard that all correctly. I cannot wait to see it. Here now is me talking with my buddy, Geo. So, man, I saw you recently at an audition, and you had quite a story to share. We ended up talking for about an hour afterwards on the phone, and that's one of the main reasons that I wanted to have you on was for you to tell your story. But to give the listeners a little context, you and I both met about 15 years ago in an acting class with our buddy Brad. And you were at the time where you were auditioning at the time. You were writing plays, as I recall. And a number of us performed in one of your plays. It was super fun. You've now sold a movie with Nicolas Cage attached called Willy's Wonderland. The project was a trending topic on Twitter back in October of last year. It was recently announced in Variety that the film has scored strong foreign sales. The movie follows a drifter played by Nicolas Cage who takes a job as a janitor at a family entertainment center. Unknowingly, he's walking into a trap where he's meant to be sacrificed to the venue's demonic animatronic mascots. And the pitch was Nicolas Cage versus Chuck E. Cheese. Is that right so far?
Yes.
This movie has been described as the most Nick Cage movie to ever Nick Cage a Nick Cage. And it's one of the most anticipated movies of 2020. What the fuck? So let me just ask, man, so how did this happen? Can you talk a little bit about the story of how this all came about?
Yeah. Well, I think kind of going back to what you said when we were in that acting class together, and we were doing scenes, and we were doing scenes from television and scenes from plays and scenes from movies. And I actually was like the monitor of that class. So I was trading being able to do the class for assigning everybody their scenes.
Right.
So, I'd have to read all sorts of different material because every week we had to change it up, So one week we'd be doing some sort of heavy drama, like some sort of Romeo and Juliet. And then the next week we'd be doing Weekend at Bernie's. And then the next weekend we'd be doing something, totally different. And we were putting up scene after scene, and I'd watch it every single week. And I thought to myself, I should try and do this. I should just try and write some scenes just to see, if I can put something up and make it my own, because I like doing the scenes and I like doing other people's stuff, but it was kind of like I wanted a sort of different challenge. I always liked making it more my own. So when I would get the scenes for everybody, I'd write up my own scene, and then I would title it Walk in the Park #2 and give it out to you or whoever else was in the class. And nobody knew the difference. They didn't know. They thought it was just some unmade pilot or whatever. And they'd put their heart and their soul into doing the scene up on stage, and I'd watch those actors take the words that I had written and make it 1,000 times better than I could ever imagine it. And there was something about that was just amazing.
Yeah.
And as I saw people kind of get respond well to the material, I was like, what, let's just take this a step further. So I started writing one-act plays, and we started putting those up at a place called the Pico Playhouse here in Los Angeles. And here's the thing, and this from putting up a play. If you put up a play for a certain week run, nobody shows up to go to the play until the very last night. So you can have,
weekend.
You'll have shows, and I've done this, and you've done this, where 2 people are in the audience, or it's just your mom in the audience, or it's just some person on their cell phone.
Not me, man. It was always packed. Always.
And so what I decided to do was I would make it more of an event. So we would have just one night only. So it would be one night only, and we get it set up a month ahead of time so we could invite all of our friends and we could fill the theater. And instead of doing a play for one person or 2 people, we'd do it for 99 people.
Sure.
And there's an energy about being in the theater. 99 people watching a comedy show or a drama show, it doesn't matter. It was just, there was a certain energy that was addictive. It was the best drug there ever was. An audience clapping and responding to your material and your acting and all the stuff that you've put your heart and your soul into. There's nothing better than that. So we were doing that. You and I did that. We did a couple of plays, and after one of the shows, this is all getting to Willy's Wonderland, everybody that's wondering. After one of the shows, a friend of mine came up to me, an actor, and he was successful. A guy named Chris Messina, and he's like, "Hey, all the stuff that you're doing
Chris
is
Messina,
great."
So Chris Messina from the Mindy Kaling show, and from Julie and Julia, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And he was in Sharp Objects. He's super successful character actor, and and now he's a leading man. The guy's awesome. So he gave me a piece of advice, which was, these plays are great. Everything you guys are doing is awesome. But if you want to be noticed, if you want to get to the next step, then you have to do a movie. And I was like, okay, I got to do a movie. But it's not like I had the money to be able to just go out and just finance a motion picture. And I didn't want to do something that was just sort of on my cell phone, because no one's going to really pay attention to it. I didn't think that would make any sort of difference. So I was trying to like figure out a way to do this. And I thought, actually, I had seen a couple of people that were in that acting class with us. They had done Indiegogos and they had done Kickstarters, and they had been able to make money to be able to do the feature film or short film.
This is around when those were starting to sort of pop up online. We were seeing those for the first time. Indiegogo, Kickstarter, etc. Yeah.
Exactly. And some of them, or most of them that I saw, were super successful.
Right.
So I was like, this is going to work out just fine for me. So I did the Indiegogo to try and raise money for this movie about like a janitor fighting animatronics, and I think about maybe 7 people donated altogether.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, it really wasn't that successful.
Did I give you money?
You know? Yeah, it wasn't as successful as I had hoped.
Was I one of your patrons?
I'm sure you were.
I try to give everybody a little something. I try to throw like not a lot. I wish I had more to give, but I try to give if I see one, if it's a charity thing or if it's somebody's personal project, I'll try to throw about $25 their way. Yeah. So
I'm in the same exact boat.
Yeah.
I think I asked for too much money. But what I was with the Indiegogos, you could keep what you were able to make, and what I was able to make altogether was like between $1,500 and $2,000. It was enough to rent a camera and to be able to pay a friend of mine who had a drone and be able to buy like a costume to make like an animatronic bear. So it actually rolled in right at the perfect amount, so I could still be able to do a short film.
You were able to do all of that with $1,500 to $2,000.
Yep.
It
was mostly just leaning on friends.
Yeah.
I got our acting class, Brad William Hinkey, the guy that he was the teacher, but he's also just a really really talented actor. He's huge. I put him in the bear suit.
He was on Orange is the New Black.
Yeah. Played Desi Piscatella as big beard. He's so evil in that show, but he's such a sweetheart in real life. So I put him in the bear suit. A friend of ours named Manny Hernandez. I went over to his house. I used his garage. I turned his garage into.
I've been in that garage. Yeah.
An old stage and stuff. And we went out there there was a bunch of other people. My wife Amalia, she helped out tremendously. A guy named Evan Ullman was our camera op. My cousin Douglas helped out. I can't thank those guys enough. But it wasn't like a huge crew of people. I'm talking about 5, maybe 6 people at the very most throughout a day and a half. We all came together and just made this short film, and it didn't turn out exactly as I wanted it. Like
it did.
You
imagine
it in your head.
I think I saw it, right? Yeah.
You definitely.
Is it still available online somewhere, or
not yet? No, we pulled it down because just for spoiler stuff. We had pulled it down. I should mention, I didn't get to this before I do the short. I had written the Willy's Wonderland. They changed the name. It was Wally's Wonderland, now it's Willy's Wonderland, and it has to do with some sort of like legal issue or being able to get insurance for a bond. It's really so boring that I don't even know that. Don't even get into it.
Right.
Well, I had written that script, and then I just wanted to have a short so I could showcase it, because, hey, if you give your script out to anyone in Los Angeles, it's like you're just one in a million. Like, you're going to be lucky to get eyeballs on the thing, and if it doesn't end up in a trash can, then it's a victory.
Right.
So we shot that short, and then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go for broke. I start sending that thing out to everybody I can find on IMDb Pro.
Okay. All right.
Like, I just searched the emails for producers and people, and I'm sending it out just, like mad, trying to get anybody to pay attention. And one lady got back to me. Her name was Kaylee Marsh, and she ran this thing called the Blood List, which is like the blacklist.
But for genre films.
Yeah, it's unproduced scripts, and
Right.
in that case, the Blacklist is like the best regular, or just normal, or just run
I
the
mean, they
mill
have
kind of
genre
scripts.
categories as well, but I think that the Bloodlust is supposed to be sort of more specific to. Would you call them like B movies?
Horror movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
And she
Very
was like, hey,
prestigious.
yeah, go ahead. So she was like, hey, what is this crazy short film you sent me? I think it's insane. Could you send me the full script? So I sent her the full script, and she was like, this is awesome. Something should really happen with this. Let me put it on the Bloodlist and make it a Bloodlist Select and try and get some attention on it. And so she put it on her website, and then I started emailing more people and more people and more people about it, and more people started to take note of it from just me blindly emailing. And one of the people that I got it to was a casting director. Her name was Venus Kanani. And
Right.
Venus
Very well
was
known.
like, hey, this is a pretty awesome short. You just, you could take this thing to the next level if you found a star to be in it.
Right.
And we're like, well, who did you suggest? Because at this point, it was just going to be me fighting people in bear costumes and just, it going a little bit further. And she was like, you should give it to Nicolas Cage. And I was like, would you give it to Nicolas Cage?
So
And
she,
she's like,
she knew Nicolas Cage, or she,
she
knew
knew
his folks.
yeah,
his
she
reps.
knew, she had a relationship with his manager. And so she gave it to Nicolas Cage, his manager, this guy named Mike Nylon. Again, let me just say, Mike Nylon is probably the best person one of the best people I've met, just in general in Hollywood, in the arts. The guy was so supportive of me. He's awesome. He read that script and one night, read it, thought it was
Wow.
awesome,
Never
thought Nick
happens,
would dig
I
it,
feel like.
send
Yeah.
it to Nick the next day.
My
Nick
God.
read it, said, this is awesome, let's make this movie.
That's how fast it
And-
happened. You hear about, you send a script along and it's like nobody ever reads it, or you follow up, hey, did anyone read this, and it's like, no, we haven't read it yet. But in this case, casting director, who talent rep or manager, business manager,
His manager.
and
Yep.
then star, they read the script in a 1-day turnaround.
Yeah, almost a one-day turnaround. I think I think it was a weekend, actually, because Mike had read it like on a Thursday, gave it to Nick on a Friday, and then I heard back on Monday that said, hey, he loves this thing, he wants to do it.
Incredible.
It was incredible. But then like, as far as it going into production, that was a whole different battle, because there's all these other factors that come into play there, as far as just financing the film and getting it actually made and all that kind of stuff. But I will say, like, Nicolas Cage was such a driving force of like, hey, this is really good. I want to make this film. Let's figure out a way to make it happen. And then, to their credit, the producers, the finance people, everyone sort of came together and were able to figure it out almost at the last minute too. Because here, let me say this is kind of wild. He had read the thing, he said he wanted to do it, but it was still hard to get the financing. It was still hard to figure all this kind of stuff out. And I thought the project was just not going to happen around June or July, because things weren't coming together as much as I thought they could. But he was like, to his credit, he was like, I have a month. Because the guy's shooting a lot of stuff.
He shoots a lot of stuff.
I have a month where I have nothing to do for that month, and I want to shoot this movie. So everybody make it happen.
It's incredible.
And they made it happen. And let me say how quickly they made it happen is he said that, at the beginning of October, and then right around Halloween is when the movie got like announced and the financing put in place. And he's suddenly, like, all of a sudden it starts, Nicolas Cage to fight demonic animatronics, and it's trending on Twitter and everybody's talking about it. And you talk about this stuff where like, oh, it takes a lifetime to become an overnight success. Well, that definitely sort of happened to me, because I was in Europe at the time. I was in Germany when it got announced, and I'm looking at my phone, and all of a sudden it's like, here's this thing that I just kind of created as a fun thing.
For
Everybody's
right
talking about it. Everybody's saying like, this is crazy. How weird is this? How awesome is this?
That's incredible. Can I ask you, buddy?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is, 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 To talk a little bit about your It Takes a Lifetime to Become an Overnight Success, I want to give people just one little story about you from probably about 15 years ago, or 10 or 15 years ago, however long we've known each other. Just to give them a little perspective on this. Do you remember it was a play reading that you did all those years ago, and you offered agents a crisp $100 bill in their program just if they would come out to see a reading of one of your plays.
Yeah.
And I was there, and I remember agents showed up. People showed up. The suits came, and they came for that $100 bill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did any of them meet with you?
No.
None of them.
You want to hear? Yeah, that's a great story about. I had booked a commercial, and I had made a couple $1,000s from the commercial, and the money didn't matter to me. I wanted to get an agent. I wanted to get somebody that could send me out and give me an opportunity. And so I did exactly what you just said. I started emailing people, and I said, listen, if you come to my showcase, it'll start at 8 p.m. and it'll end at 8:30, and I'll give you $100. All you got to do is show up, sit in the seat. This guy at the front will give you $100, and please just give me an opportunity. I'll even pay for it. So,
I was so furious watching that happen. I thought your idea was, I wasn't mad at you. I thought that's interesting. I was like, I didn't know how that was gonna go. But those people who showed up, I just felt like, fuck these people. Anybody who showed up for that, I was like, this is gross. Again, not on your part. I thought it was interesting what you were doing, but I thought it said something about, particularly, we were living in a Hollywood that was supported in part, but by the time, by all sorts of like industry related, like so-called classroom experiences where people get paid a certain amount of money to come in and talk to a group of students. So it felt very of the time. So I sort of know, like, I could understand like where you came up with that idea from, but I wanted to know, did any of them actually call you?
They actually, the funniest story about all this is I wouldn't it's mean to me to say no, because three people, one person called me and said I should get a literary agent.
So one person said like, hey, not me, but you should get someone else.
You should, because he was a talent agent. I had done this to try and get an acting agent. He's like, you should find a literary agent. Another girl, another woman that was a talent manager, she was like, hey, I appreciate all the effort that you put into that. It was great. Thank you for inviting me. But, at least she got back to me. And then my buddy Evan, who I previously mentioned, he was running the door. An agent offered him just as he was leaving, he's like, hey, come by my office. I like your look. He wasn't even in the show.
It's great. That's so fucking great, man.
But you know what? That's the thing is, like, I tried all those kind of different things to try and get myself noticed. I did that short film. I cut myself into different TV shows. I don't know I think you've seen that, where I got a film camera, like a Panavision film camera, and I shot myself just using some short end film stock. I shot myself doing scenes from TV shows and matched it. This is before all kind of the digital stuff. Now you can do almost anything, but this is before all that. I'd matched it to like Scrubs and to 24 and to Say Anything. And I cut myself into those movies because I was just trying to stand out or try to do something different. And that showcase where I paid everybody to try and come and see me, I was always trying to do things to stand out and to be different and try to get noticed.
I didn't know that you were cutting yourself into footage. That's a great idea. I guess a year and a half ago, you were trying to convince maybe a producer that Willy's Wonderland would be a hit, and this person told you to give up on it and search Reddit for what's popular and make a movie of that. Willy's Wonderland has been top trending on Reddit 3 times since then, including trending #1 on Reddit in February of this year.
That's true. No, it's, what, and half of that, more than half of it, 80% is that, Nicolas Cage is the one true God on Reddit. So he does anything, it's going to trend. But I think it is like, just before even getting Nicolas Cage involved, I love B movies. I love those kind of movies that you and I would find as kids at the Blockbuster, at the Hollywood Video. These movies that kind of that live on forever as just like classic, fun, stupid horror movies. And when I wrote Willy's Wonderland, that was the idea behind it, was to make like genetically engineer it to be like the ultimate B horror movie, and just putting Nicolas Cage in there, he was like the cherry on top that put all the pieces together that made it work. And I think that when the film comes out and when people see it, they're going to be surprised at how awesome that man is in it.
Oh, I can't wait. I think it's going to be fantastic.
But wait, let me speak into your what you just had mentioned with the Reddit stuff. I don't think that I wrote that. Yeah, he did tell me that. I don't fault that advice, because he saw the writing on the wall and the way things are going with movies. It's all IP. It's all stories that, and you notice this when you see, think what comes out in the theaters. It's superhero movies. It's sequels. It's based on a true story. So his advice was try and find something that's already in the public knowledge and make a movie of that. Don't try and be like original just because you're a nobody and this is the best way in. I just kind of lucked out that Nick liked the script.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we hear a lot of stories about where, we hear that a lot from a lot of Hollywood types where they're saying, get something with a little bit of name recognition. Board games can be turned into movies. Hasbro is a big production studio in Los Angeles now. Anything with a little name recognition or anything that that advice is probably not the word. I'd be interested to hear from people who follow that advice and see what kind of success they've had, but certainly the more romantic story is that you do have something original that becomes its own success story. And I mean, on that note, are there sequels in mind already for Willy's Wonderland?
There definitely can be a sequel for it, and I think, judging by the awesome 10 to 15-year-old fans that hit me up on Instagram every hour on the hour, there should be a sequel to it. There could be a sequel to it if everyone demanded. I'm sure that we would do a sequel to it. Yes.
And is the
some kid said to me on Instagram the other day, he's like, hey, your movie's a cult classic and it hasn't even come out yet. That's like, yeah, I know, it's weird.
That's what people are saying. It has all the makings of being another cult classic, and it comes after Nicolas Cage had done this movie Mandy, which was sort of another sort of mid-range genre thriller with a name actor. So this may be one of those sort of trends right now in movie making. Am I right?
Yeah, totally. And I think, Mandy was a specific audience. I think this one is going to reach a broader audience than Mandy was. Now, Mandy was awesome, but I think that it's a specific type of theater goer that's going to respond to that, while Willy's Wonderland is much more commercial. If you like the second half of Mandy with a little more fun, you'll like Willy's Wonderland.
That's a good pitch right there. So now I read that a trailer is dropping in July. Is that still happening?
Well, that's when it was supposed to drop, but with the theater shut down and so much just, ambiguity about what's going to happen with Corona, with Safer at Home, I don't know. I know it's ready to go, but it doesn't make sense to release it if we don't know where we can show where we can show the stuff.
So that's still a discussion about whether it's going to be a VOD or a theatrical release.
Yeah, but just because of the Corona stuff, everybody who's involved with it right now wants it to be a theatrical release because it's the kind of movie that you want to go to the theater with your friends, and you scream, you laugh, you cheer, you shadow box along with everybody, and so they really want to push it out to just be a theatrical release, and I think everybody's on board with we want it to be theatrical. Whether or not, I don't have any control over that. They may change their minds, but I think they're holding out as much as they can for a theatrical release.
They're looking tentatively at the moment at October, but may move.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And then if none of this had happened, then we'd probably already have the trailer out in July, and then it would have been around that middle of October, kind of the perfect Halloween movie.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, when a movie sells foreign, it usually spells that there's money to be made. Do you have a good fucking lawyer? Are you about to make $100 million? Like,
no, I'm not. No.
Are you about to make $2?
Maybe I'll make $2. Yeah. No,
Well,
I mean, it would just be, all that kind of stuff depends on the actual profit made at the very end of the film. Here's the thing about making the money and making all that kind of stuff. You heard my story earlier about how hard it's been just to try and get noticed with anything. So the money portion of it, to me, I could have made a penny. But if I was able to get in the door and be able to chase the dream that I've had, since I was 17, that's totally cool. All the accolades and everybody digging the project and all that kind of just awesomeness that's come along with it is more important to me than any dollar that I could ever make.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. A lot of people would also be like, "Get that money." That's all nice.
Well, we gotta
get paid,
that sequel.
man.
Let's get that sequel, everybody.
It's your story.
Go see the movie.
Are you best friends with Nicolas Cage now?
No.
You haven't been up to his castle to hang out?
I've not been up to his castle. Okay. He is. I'm just blessed that he's a fan of mine and I'm a fan of his. That's kind of where it's at. And of all the people, you think about this, we've heard this story, all the stuff I've tried, all the things that I've done, all the attempts that I've made. The one person that saw me in this void out of anybody in the world was Nicolas Cage. It's you look up from the void and there's Nick and he's like, "Come with me."
It's the greatest. It's a little kid's dream.
Yeah.
Do you have another favorite Nicolas Cage movie?
I always like, because I remember going and seeing it in the theater when I was like in high school or no, probably earlier than that, was Con Air.
Sure.
It was and The Rock. I mean, because those were late '90s movies, and it was just never better for me than that, because you go to the theater, you camp out outside, then they'd let you in, you get your seats. I mean, it was just a different experience, and those two I just kind of always remember being in the theater and being absolutely blown away. So before we shot the movie, I went back and I did a Nicolas Cage extravaganza. I watched every single movie of his.
Yeah, you watched Guarding Tess.
Oh yeah, no, I watched I'm telling you, I watched every single thing from was it Rumblefish to the latest one that he's done after this one, which I think was Mandy, or maybe he did another one that's come out. But I watched them all because I felt like, hey, if this guy was going to pull me out of the void, I have to be more than just a casual fan. I gotta just show my respect and watch everything that he's done. Yeah,
absolutely. And he's got such a great library of stuff. I mean, he's got something for everybody. That guy. He's a good actor.
He is like one of the hardest working people you can imagine.
Yeah, I'm not mad at Nicolas Cage at all. I like the guy.
And he and with the character that he is in Willy's Wonderland, it is not an easy character to be. Like, I don't want to give away things about the movie, but it's not. He can't just phone in the performance that he does in Willy's Wonderland. It's extremely difficult, and it is an acting challenge. And I think people, when they see the movie, will realize what drew him to it. I think people will see like, oh wow, this is. And he's been in. Let me say this: he's been in 100 movies, and I promise you've never seen a movie where he does what he does. Wait, I'm phrasing this. You've never seen a movie like where he acts like. Okay, he's never done anything like Willy's Wonderland. Use that as the soundbite.
We'll use that. We'll cut around it. Yeah, that's great, man. I believe it. So all right. So where can people find you online?
So I have a Twitter and I have an Instagram, and they're both the same. Geo Parsons is my Twitter handle, @Geo Parsons, and it's the same thing for Instagram, Geo Parsons. And yeah, feel free, hit me up on Twitter and hit me up on Instagram. I if you have any questions or want to talk to me about anything, feel free. I mean, I just sometimes when I'm not doing anything, I'll just sit on there and just I like it when people talk to me. So I'll answer any question that comes my way.
Well, buddy, I couldn't be happier for anyone. You deserve lots of success. Congratulations on Willy's Wonderland. A lot of folks are excited to see it, me included. And I'm excited for what comes next for you. And thanks for coming on and chatting with me today. I love you, buddy.
I appreciate it. And I love you. And you are the magician, and you always will be. And that's an inside joke between us.
That is an inside joke. I will reprise that role. All right, man. Good to talk to you.
All right, good to talk to you, too.
If you made it to the end of this episode, you're my mom, and maybe my dad. So thank you, Mom, for making Dad listen to my show. Dad, please follow me back on Twitter and Instagram at jclaudeering. There are pictures of your grandkids on there. It's a good time. No pressure. And to everyone else out there, if you listened all the way to the end of this very first episode, I want to say thank you. Thanks for your trust and your time. Stay tuned because we've got 9 more incredible episodes, including interviews with Melissa Fumero, Baron Vaughn, Chantel Tui, Ryder Doyle, Sarah Paxton, Brandon Scott, Christine Woods, and Tembi Locke, to name more than a few. Give us a subscribe and those sweet high-star ratings, and we'll return the favor by bringing you even more quality content in the future. Our sound engineer is Christopher Frontiero, and our series composer is Cormac Bluestone. Our series graphics editor is Dan Olszewski. I don't talk to myself that often. Mostly it's in fragments. It'll just be, it's not usually full sentences like this when I'm on a microphone. When I'm alone, it's more just like, fuck. That's what it usually is. Little fragments. It's never full sentences. It's never, all right, I gotta get out of bed today. Gotta do it all over again. It's not usually full sentences like that. So this is weird. It's new for me. All right, God bless, folks. See you next time.